Hi, welcome back everybody, and we are here to finish up problem 5. I just want to recap how we got to the picture on the screen. If it's been a while since you've seen that part 2 video, or I shouldn't say part 2, the part 1 second note video. And so basically here's what we did. Remember, we are trying to find perimeter, and so perimeter means add all the sides together, and the problem was we didn't know all the sides, and here's why. We're working with an isosceles triangle. An isosceles triangle has two sides that are the same length. We call those legs. And so that's what these tick marks here in blue and now green represent. The left and the right side of this isosceles triangle were the same length. And then the base, and we didn't know the length, but the base then was 15. And so we'll count the base as the bottom. I put a 15 there. Now, it did tell us the height. And so in this situation, since none of the sides created a 90-degree angle with our base, we had to draw an imaginary line that creates a 90-degree angle with a base. And so our height is this red, now turning green, dashed line coming from the top of our isosceles triangle, and again, creating a 90-degree angle with the bottom side, which is our base. Remember, the base and the height always make a 90-degree angle. And so if that isn't occurring, you have to draw one. And remember, it can be inside the triangle like that, or even outside the triangle, like in problem number 2. All right, now, one thing that happens with that is, remember, our base was 15, that's the whole bottom side. But in an isosceles triangle, when you draw that invisible height up and down in your triangle, it cuts our bottom base in half. Well, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So each side of that height has got to be 7.5. And then I've circled half of this triangle and I've redrawn it over to the right because what I want you to see is when we draw that height in there, right, which we know is 18, and it cuts the bottom side in half, so we know this little piece is 7.5, and it also creates a 90-degree angle with that bottom side. We got ourselves a right triangle, and we know two sides, 7.5 and 18. Only side we don't know is x. And anytime we know two sides of a right triangle and we don't know the third side, we can do a squared plus b squared equals c squared to solve for the missing side. Now remember, c is always our hypotenuse. That's across from our 90-degree angle. And so in this example, that's x. And so that makes 18 and 7.5 a and b. So we just want to do 18 squared plus 7.5 squared, and that'll tell us what x squared is. And so we'll square both of those numbers. 18 squared, well, I'm just going to do it all in one. So 18 squared plus 7.5 squared, that is going to be 380.25 total. And that's what x squared equals. And so we don't want x squared, we want the square root of that. So we'll square root both sides to get x. And the square root of 380.25 is 19.5, roughly. And so that's what x equals. Now, I'm going to write that in a different color. Remember, x equals 19.5. Now, we have to remind ourselves what we're ultimately trying to find here. We want the perimeter, right, of the original triangle. Not this new one I drew over here, but the original. Now, we need to draw this new one because we need to find the length of this slanted side. And we have now found that it is 19.5. And then remember, in an isosceles triangle, these tick marks mean these two sides are the same, so this other side is 19.5 as well. And then remember, our third side is our base, which is 15. We want to use the whole base, right? And so what we need to do to find the perimeter is add these three numbers together. Perimeter will be 19.5 plus 19.5 plus 15. And that equals, in total, 54 centimeters. And that is the answer. All right. Now, one more question left. Find the area of an equilateral triangle with side lengths 4.5. Now, this roughly works in the same way. All right. So, but this time we want area, and it is a triangle. So remember, area equals base times height divided by 2 for triangles. Now, this time, though, it's an equilateral triangle. Equilateral means all three sides are the same. So when I draw this triangle, I can put a tick mark through all three sides. And it also tells us the side lengths are 4.5. So all of them are 4.5. Now, remember, area is base times height divided by 2. So we can consider this bottom 4.5 as our base. So all we need, right, is the height. So we don't have the height. Remember, height and base always make a 90-degree angle at each other. So just like the last problem, we need to draw this imaginary height, creates a right angle, and we need to solve for it. Once we get it, now we can plug that h and our 4.5 into our formula up here, and we'll have our area. Now, to remind you of what happens when we draw that invisible height in there. Remember, it cuts our base in half. 4.5 divided by 2 is 2.25. So the left and right side are both 2.25, which means if we take half this triangle again, right? We know this dotted line is our height. We know the height and this bottom make a 90-degree angle, and we know this is half of our original purple triangle. So this side is just 2.25, and this slanted side is 4.5. So once again, we have a right triangle, and we know two sides, and we're missing the third. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared will help us find h. Now, remember our hypotenuse, which is c, is always across from the 90-degree angle. So that's got to be 4.5 here. And so we're going to have to solve h squared plus 2.25 squared equals 4.5 squared. So let's square everything. H squared stays the same, but 2.25 squared is approximately 5.1, and that's going to equal 4.5 squared, which is 20.25. We'll subtract 5.1 from both sides, and it's going to give us h squared equals 15.2 approximately. And then we will square root both sides, and h equals 3.9. Now remember, we're not done, but that is our height, and it's the same height as that height, right? However, we need to now find the area, and we need to remember we are finding the area of this original triangle. And so it's base times height divided by 2. And remember, our original base is 4.5. So area is going to equal 4.5 times, and then times the height. And we just solve for that. That is 3.9. So 4.5 times 3.9, all divided by 2. And when you type that into your calculator, you will get 8.8. And then remember, area is square units, so inches squared. And that is our final answer. All right, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. As you can see, there's quite a bit of work involved in finding area and perimeter of shapes. We need to remember our old skills during this unit. It is crucial. And so if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Ooh, please email me, or even enter into our Google Hangouts deal, and we can walk through these if you need that help. Otherwise, move on to the Part 1 worksheet. Make sure you reference this, practice those skills, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a great day.